Back now on the final segment of this premiere episode of County Connections, coming to you from the Forsyth County Government Center in downtown Winston-Salem. And as we wrap up today, one of the things we wanted to talk about is water and wastewater and septic systems and wells. And I know a lot of you are saying, wait a minute, I live in a town or I live in a city, I'm watching this, I don't need to listen to this. Well, wait a minute, this impacts public health, and I want you to know why. Because people in some of the outlying areas and rural areas need to sink a well. They need to put in a septic system, but it's not just something that's done automatically. There's a process. The man with me right now knows about that process. Charles Cahill is Environmental Health Supervisor and Water and Wastewater Section Head for the Forsyth County Department of Public Health, and we welcome you to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the permitting process for wells and septic systems.
Sure. The first thing I like to say is a lot of times the applicants will come through the front door with a misconception. I can walk in, pay for my permit, and get it in hand. But it is a process. It's a really extensive application. They got to submit a site plan. We've got to have property corners marked. Houses have to be marked before we can actually go out there. And once we do go out there and perform the soil evaluation, pretty extensive process for us. And if we found a spot that is determined to be suitable, then we can go ahead and permit. On occasion, we find an area where we run into the fact that we can't permit, and then we try to give some options, try to help them out through the process. And if everything does work out, then we can write them a permit.
Right, and you have to hit the right area, you know, and we all, this has happened to me before too. You buy a piece of land, or you want to buy a piece of land, and you think everything's going to be perfect, but from a public health standpoint, for everybody's health,
right,
you have to make sure that the soil is going to accept where the well needs to go in the septic system, and what you do is so important. But now, here's something that Dudley touched on earlier in the program about, as we're still in the throes of the pandemic, all the things that have increased and the extra things that are happening. And the new home construction has just gone berserk. It's just really grown. How has that affected what you do with permitting?
Well, that has impacted us pretty heavily because it affects our backlogs, how many applications come in. We've seen about a 20% increase in applications, which equates to the houses being built. So it has set us back a little bit, has affected our backlogs. But and the thing that kicked us a little bit was we didn't predict this. No one knew this was coming through the door.
Because we had the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the this and you know, people not, you know, having to work from home, and people watching their dollars and not knowing where the next dollars come from, and then all of a sudden everybody's building a house.
Yep. That really, like I said, that surprised us, and we've been playing catch up ever since.
What about road construction? How does road construction, what effect does that have on what you're doing or what people do with wells and septic systems?
Yeah, sure. So surprisingly, that is something that a lot of people don't think about. They see a road coming through, they see DOT coming through, they're upset about their property being taken. But then it comes down to most of the time whether or not they're taking their septic system, whether or not they're taking their well, or whether or not they're taking the repair area. Most lots, when they are permitted with a septic system and a repair area. So they have a place to repair it or fix it if it ever fails. And those are the things we have to go out and we have to evaluate whether or not it's impacting. And that's, again, another surprise for some homeowners then.
Yeah, now let me double back on the COVID thing just a minute, because I guess COVID has something to do with everything directly and indirectly these days. How has that impacted in general on how you've had to adjust, you and your team, your workload, the way of doing things, the way of communicating? Have you had to change or adapt anything in what you normally do?
Oh, sure. Now, that's another thing. When all this actually came about, my section stayed in the office, stayed true to what they were doing because this machine did not stop. And the funny thing that popped up, a lot of people are at home. A lot of people want to do additions. A lot of people want to do decks. And anytime you're on a septic system in Forsyth County, if you want to do any sort of improvement to your footprint of your home, you've got to go through our office first.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So if I have a septic system and I just want to extend the deck or create a deck or something, I need to call you.
You have to go through us first. And building inspections is nice, and they'll send you right our way. And again, it's another application, another process.
I didn't realize that.
We have to verify setbacks off the septic tanks, verify setbacks off the well. If you're adding a bedroom, then we have to actually add to the septic system.
If people go to the general website, I know there's we can't get into the real long ones here, but if you go to the general website, is there a way to find what you're doing to get more information?
Oh, sure. If you go to the, if you can start with the Forsyth County
NC.gov.
Yes, sir. And then click on its Department of Public Health. That's where environmental health is actually in, is in the health department. And then we have a spot that you can click on for environmental health. and then you can go down to Septic System in Wells, and it'll explain everything.
Well, I tell you, Charles, we can't do without you and your team, and we appreciate what you're doing. I know you're under the gun with, but you know, in a way, if anything has good come out of this, and nothing much has out of this whole mess we've been in with COVID, but people are wanting to build, people are wanting to grow and keep going on with their lives, and you help them do that.
That part of the economy has not stopped, so that's
I
a good thing.
I appreciate what you do.
Yes, sir.
Well, we just mentioned a minute ago the website. I'll give it to you one more time. ForsythCountyNC.gov is a general website that will take you to all these different areas and departments that we've talked about throughout the program.